Welcome back to Let's Have It Out. Let's take a caller now. We have Enoch from Pretoria on the line. Hi,
Yes.
Enoch. What is your question or comment?
My comment is all about this Sharon Zondo. The thing is, ma'am, here on Sharon Zondo, I'm so surprised. She was raped for almost about 2 to 3 years, and she never reported to someone, even the mother, even the friend. And if you have a look very well, that lady, Sharon Zondo, she likes things. Look at her hairstyle. Look at the nails. Look, how does she speak?
I worry about this line of argument. Let's get to the actual question or comment.
The comment is that I don't think that Sharon Zondo was a sex slave. She was the wife of Matos.
Okay.
Well, it can't be raped repeatedly for 2 to 3 years, and you don't say that to anyone else. You're supposed to brief yourself and tell someone that this thing is happening because you're so much concerned. Even remember when you see when they are asking Sharon Zondo about it.
Thanks, Enoch. I think, it would be wonderful if we were all able to just come forward. I think it's a lot more complicated than that. So that's the first point. But, I think we must also, and before I allow you to respond, we need to make the point that women and men who are in marriages can very much be raped. Rape is about consent. So let's hear your take on Enoch's view.
The challenge is this. And what Enoch espouses is, funny enough, a traditional view which even our law at a certain stage actually held. One used to have, we used to call it was a line of questioning of, well, did you raise I think it's called the cry and hue and cry.
Yes.
To that effect.
Yes.
Since,
did you physically vocalize?
Well,
no.
yeah.
How loud was it?
Correct. And we've since walked away from that as a requirement. And I use the word requirement loosely because it's unreasonable. And different victims will react differently. And you have to remember, this is traumatic. It's a traumatic experience. So as to expect people to act rationally under traumatic circumstances is simply not fair.
Yeah.
And if it is the case, then that we're going to, or that the law thought it desirable to have time limitations to these criminal offenses, then we would have that. But we don't have statutes of limits well, not now in any event. And so that, to me, becomes irrelevant. It simply just doesn't arise.
So now looking at the social media, we have Anonymous on WhatsApp who's asked, why is consensual sex with a female under 16 a crime when so many under 16s are sexually active, some as young as 11 and 12 years old? Don't you think the legal age to consent to sex should be lowered? Thanks for that question. What's your view on this?
It's very much a personal view, but you have to remember that how we make laws is a question of the morality of society, what we term the bonus mores of society. So, granted, it does move from time to time, and that's why nowadays we don't have...
I think also there's an issue of power dynamics. The reason why consensual sex with an under 16-year-old when the partner's much older, some of the thinking behind it is how much power do you actually have to say yes?
And let's not make any mistake here, is that we're dealing with children. 16-year-olds are children. They're still children. Yeah. So can you imagine if you lower it even lower than 16? It's absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that there's consensual sex happening between children does not necessarily, and in fact, the law caters very differently.
Exactly. It's considered a different case.
Correct. So to have adults having sex with minors, I don't think is appropriate.
And also, like we said, a protective mechanism. We actually have another caller on the line. We have Denise Robertson from Cape Town. Hi, Denise. What's your question or comment?
Good evening. My comment is that our justice system and the SAP system is not nearly well enough resourced or catered for. It was mentioned earlier in the interview that police stations do have units available to counsel or to assist people. That may be the case in some circumstances, but in many they are not. Very often victims are questioned in full view of the other people in the charge office. One needs separate places where they can be debriefed. The counselling is just not available, and it's not very professional. Many cases, people are simply just lay advisors. Something is better than nothing, but we need far more investment in assistance. We need many more sexual offences courts. You know, for a victim to see the perpetrator when she's about to give evidence is a frightening experience. There should be separate entrances. There are so many things that can be done to assist victims of rape to be able to have an experience that is not secondary victimization and secondary trauma. I could go on ad nauseum. I don't know how much time I have, but we definitely need to improve the justice system and policing. We need training. We need sensitivity training, and victims need to be given a proper chance and not to be interrogated as brutally as Mr. Doberman did just recently.
Exactly. I think Denise brings up an important point, and just one thing I need to also throw in there is, you know, we've also had instances where people will come to report issues of sexual assault or rape and will find themselves having been raped by the police officer afterward. Now, of course, this doesn't happen everywhere, but I think it is something that we need to speak about, because how well are we equipping the system to actually deal with this? And I like the suggestion of the specific sexual offences court, and I think that could be a secondary thing we could look at.
Yeah, I mean, the challenge, I suppose, is one of resources. We already have so many specialized courts, and every single time that you have to set up a separate court, and we've got fiscal challenges in this country. So, you know, I know I'm making excuses.
You see, it's worrying because we know that our court system is overburdened, and one of the arguments that's often made is that if we are able to create different streams of courts, it means there's specific people who have those expertise, like how we have family courts, for example. Maybe this is something worth looking, because that's where we can actually put in those slightly more nuanced approaches.
Well, that may be true in an ideal world, but I mean, we also have to work within what is possible at the moment. And I'm not entirely convinced that with the resources that we have currently, that we're not able, and we shouldn't be able to treat victims with dignity as a starting point, whether inside of court or outside of court. And in fact, within the courting system and inside of court, I think we already have a regime, we already have the rules, we've got the laws that protect victims. Now, the question is, well,
we can argue about the protection of victims, but let's go to an ad break, and we'll continue after this discussion. We'll take more of your questions and comments after the break.